Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all to our YouTube platform where we in today's video are going to discuss yet another important Indian novelist whose name is Khushwant Singh. Now we need to first of all know certain types of factual information, but as far as the writer's importance is concerned, whenever you are dealing with your Indian writing and English portion in your UGC NET English syllabus, you need to be very well aware about these many prominent writers who serve, as some sort of a question, जिसमें से question आपको आ सकता है in your English literature का exam. Now, as always, this is the picture. He was born in 1915 in Pakistan, Punjabi Pakistan, at that point of time, before partition of course, right? And he passed away in 2014 in New Delhi. So that was about the time span, the lifespan that he had, right? Moving forward to the factual and the life-related details that we are supposed to talk about. He was one such person who kept on shifting his professions from one to the other. एक काम से दूसरे काम में ये अपना profession बार-बार he kept on changing. So we see him first of all working as a practicing lawyer. Pehle he was practicing as a lawyer, then he changed his profession to being a journalist for AIR, that is All India Radio. Then we see him being a member of Rajya Sabha from the time being of 1980 to 86, and he is one such person who will write the works. जैसे अगर मैं ये quote, if I read it for you all here, he says that my roots are in the dunghill of a tiny Indian village. So if you know that the condition of the villages, the setting entirely of the Indian villages, especially if we try to talk about the pre-independence times, was very much simple. People used to live in their, what we know in Punjabi, we call it a pind, right? गांव में, village में रहते थे, and there used to be cows, right? The cows, the dung cakes, etc. All these things are something which tells us about the simpler way of life that he was also talking about, right? And his fiction reeks with the odor of his roots. Meaning क्या है इसका कि whatever he was, however and whatsoever kind of life did he have, उसी तरीके की same चीजें हमें उनके fictional works में we are able to see the same in his works as well, right? He received Padma Bhushan in the year 1974 but returned it after 10 years. Why did he return the Padma Bhushan award? Was because of the fact that in 1984 when Operation Blue Star was there, right? So, during that emergency, he denounced his Padma Bhushan. He returned it, the Gallantry Award, one of the biggest gallantry awards in India. And then later on in 2007, he was awarded with Padma Vibhushan, right? He takes a markedly irreverent view of Indian life and character, and the way we are going to see the portrayal in his works would be full of the realism that is there. वैसे ही जैसे चीजें हैं उनको वैसे ही दिखाएंगे without even मोड़ तरोड़ के facts को नहीं दिखाएंगे. Whatever one person would view the life as, he would show and portray the characters like that only. One of his characters says, it was not possible to keep Indians off the subject of sex for long. It obsessed their minds because with novels such as A Train to Pakistan, अगर हम खुशवंत सिंह की बात करते हैं, he will talk about how during the partition of India, the women were being raped from both the sides. The Hindu women were being raped by the Muslim, right? And the Hindu and the Sikh women were being raped by the Muslim, and so on was the case with the Muslim women, which were, being raped by the Sikh and the other parts as well, right? The Sikh and the Hindu men as well. So we see that even if it's a taboo topic to be talked about, to be taken up during the times when, the British were still ruling in our country, the pre-independence times, but he never shuns his voice off. He tries to speak as he wants to. So like, as I told you already, now this is him receiving the Padma Vibhushan award. Now, as we move forward with the video in here, I need to tell you guys that we have several themes which are predominantly seen in his works. Number one is that he explores the social and political realities of the contemporary Indian life. अगर मैंने आपको अभी एग्जाम्पल दी है ट्रेन टू पाकिस्तान, द वे वी सी दैट इवन इफ इट इज सेट इन अ वेरी छोटा सा टाउन, दैट टू would be a fictional town created by Khushwant Singh, we see that how through the borders, if we are trying to locate the entire thing कि पूरे इंडिया पाकिस्तान में ये पार्टीशन की भसड़ मची हुई है, people are trying to go from one way to the other, right? So we are seeing not just the extravagant things in his works, but rather the social and political realities, partition, rape, sex, in सब चीजों के बारे में he never ever stops himself to talk, because he also believes that what better than a pen, to brought forward the ideas that one person has, right? The realistic description and political satire. So whatever he is trying to define in here, he will use some sort of tint, he will use a hint of, satire, जो कि underneath होगा, हर एक इंसान के समझने की बात नहीं है. Now, he was, if we are talking about prominent writer, एक prominent writer की बात करते हैं, then we should not be leaving any magazines, newspapers, etc. that the writer is associated with. So he was a founder and editor of a magazine named Yojana, editor of the Illustrated Weekly of India. You can pause the screens here and note the facts down. He was the chief editor of New Delhi Journal and Hindustan Times. A Saturday column used to come with malice towards one and all in the Hindustan Times, which is considered to be by far one of the most popular columns of the day. So during those times, जिस नाम का कॉलम आता था, it was with malice towards one and all. That was a famous column. एक सेक्शन होता था उसमें he used to write things हर टाइम पे, ठीक है. Then we have the first ever work that we want to talk about, Train to Pakistan, which was published in 1956. It's a historical novel. Why am I calling it a historical novel? Because of the fact that the tenets and aspects that we are going to see in here are perpetually dealing with the theme of partition, right? Partition of India, 1947. Setting is in Mano Majra, which is a fictional village. So we know that there are many writers out there in Indian literature in English who are creating fictional towns. अगर हम R.K. Narayan की बात करते हैं, उन्होंने मालगुडी बनाया हुआ है, right? So we see that yes, of course, there are writers who are predominantly making the use of fictional towns that are being created, and that's an important aspect that we need to keep in mind, because you never know what sort of question would be asked. The chaos and violence in forming Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan, because there will be, ये चीजें कही जाएंगी बंटवारे के टाइम पे, that सारे हिंदूज जो हैं वो पाकिस्तान से इंडिया में आ जाए, एंड सारे जो मुस्लिम है फ्रॉम इंडिया, दे शुड बी गोइंग बैक टू पाकिस्तान. So that was the entire thing that was done by the British people to separate the country in two halves, right? The trains are called ghost trains. Why are they being called ghost trains? Is because of the fact that we will see उन ट्रेन्स के ऊपर बहुत सारी लाशें, there will be lots and lots of dead bodies, and the stench that would also come eventually with the people who are dead, right? So the trains will be carrying the dead bodies of the people, the Hindus, the Muslims, etc. Right? Begins with the murder of Lala Ramlal, who is a money lender in Mano Majra, जिसको जग्गा या जगत जो है एक बनिया कहता है इस particular work में, and one of the few Hindus in the community. So if we take a look at here, this particular novel has been adapted in the form of a movie as well, right, in 1998. Coming back to the main characters in here, Lala Ramlal जो है, he is a money lender, the baniya of Mano Majra, right, who is murdered by a gang of Malli and uski gang. Malli is also a character. Malli और उसकी gang ने already Lala Ramlal को kill कर दिया है. Telling you one thing before we directly jump onto the overview here. These are the overview that I'm going to give in here. You guys are supposed to read the entire detailed summary of these works especially on your own, right? Coming to Jagat Singh, he is nicknamed as Jagga, who's the main protagonist here. The resident is the bad boy of Mano Majra, but we will see that he would not be such a bad boy as he was called. ठीक है. फिर भी आप नूरा जो है, शी इज द लवर ऑफ जग्गा, एंड ये इमाम बख्श की बेटी है. ठीक है. Now, Imam Baksh is Noora ka father, and of course, he is the Imam and Mullah of the fictional town of Mano Majra. One more thing which is important is that Imam Baksh does not have any idea about the relationship between Jagat Singh and Noora that is there. तो एक सिख है और उसका मुस्लिम के साथ अफेयर चल रहा है, मुस्लिम फादर को. एंड व्हाई एम आई सेइंग दीज टर्म्स इन हियर इज बिकॉज ऑफ द फैक्ट दैट आई वांट टू टेल यू गाइस दैट हाउ बिफोर द पार्टीशन एंड एवरीथिंग व्हेन दीज ये थोड़ा रिश्तों में कड़वाहट नहीं आई थी in different communities and sects that were there, we see that people were living with so much of unity together, right? That's why we see it here. And by the end of the novel, if you will read the entire detailed summary, you'll get an idea as in why am I saying this. So, Imam Baksh तो ये भी कहेंगे कि the British had gone. Who is suffering here is the poor. He does not have anywhere to go. So whatever has been done, but who is suffering the most during this partition time is the poor. Then we have Hukam Chand, who is the magistrate and deputy commissioner of Mano Majra, who will pass this particular note ki hanji, I want to save the Muslim train जो कि पाकिस्तान जा रही है, तो ये एक ऑर्डर पास करेंगे. हसीना जो है, अब ये बात है कि हुकम चंद जो है, इनकी बेटी बचपन में ही मर जाती है. एंड लेटर ऑन we see Hukam Chand going to a prostitute named Hasina, who जिसके साथ वो थोड़ा सा obsessed हो जाएंगे, प्यार में पड़ जाएंगे, because of the fact that he could not give his fatherly love to his girl child. Now, because Hasina is a teenage prostitute, right, whom Hukam Chand solicits, so he starts falling for Hasina. Now, she is a Muslim prostitute. अगर ट्रेन जा रही है फ्रॉम इंडिया टू पाकिस्तान विद द मुस्लिम्स जो भरे हुए हैं, तो ऑफ कोर्स शी विल आल्सो गो, शी विल आल्सो हैव टू लीव, राइट? द सब इंस्पेक्टर साहिब इज अ करप्ट ऑफिशियल हु imprisons जग्गा एंड इकबाल सिंह इवन दो ही नोज दैट दे डिड नॉट मर्डर लाला रामलाल. ठीक है, तो इवेंचुअली सब इंस्पेक्टर का ये रोल है. अब थोड़ी सी स्टोरी बता देती हूँ. जगत सिंह सब लोग का मैंने आपको रिश्ता बता दिया. बेसिकली ऑफ कोर्स एक ट्रेन आती है इसमें फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान जिसमें मरे हुए हिंदूज दे डू कम, एंड वी नाउ सी दैट द हिंदूज इन इंडिया दे आर enraged now to take revenge on the Hindus who have come dead from the train to India जो पाकिस्तान से आई है. So to avenge for their brothers and everybody and everything like that, we see that they now also know कि हुकुम चंद ने बोल दिया है कि ट्रेन जाएगी पाकिस्तान को जाएगी with all the Muslims who are there. That's why the name of the title that we have in here. So we see that how eventually Hukam Chand would want to save, even if Hukam Chand was a Hindu, he wanted to save the Muslim population who was going to Pakistan. The train entirely which was going to Pakistan, Hukam Chand wanted to save it. So he would get Jagga release later on, and we see basically in the work in here only that how लोगों को पता चल जाता है कि yes of course officials को भी कईयों को पता लग जाता है कि जब ट्रेन from India it will go to Pakistan, there will be Muslims who will be sitting on the top of the train as well. So what they do is they the people who are conspiring to kill the Muslims, वो ट्रेन का जो प्लेटफॉर्म होता है, right, because they know that the people will be sitting at the top of the train as well, तो वो एक रोप बांध देते हैं so that the people who are sitting at the top they fall. जब ट्रेन वहां से गुजरेगी they fall and the Hindus could kill the Muslims who are going to Pakistan to take revenge or to avenge for the people who had already died, right? So Jagga जो कि bad boy है so called in the work, he eventually will save this particular train. How will he save? That's really एक बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से खुशवंत सिंह जी ने डिस्क्राइब करा हुआ है. That Jagga will jump and he would try to cut the rope with his kirpan. अपनी किरपान के साथ उस रोप को कट करने की कोशिश करेगा, एंड नीचे से ऑफिशियल्स वुड बी लाइक don't do that, but he keeps on cutting the rope and he eventually does, but वो पूरे तरीके से the rope does not come off, the rope did not break. So what happens that he uses his teeth now to cut the rope and eventually a gunshot is fired on Jagga and he falls, breaking the rope. And then eventually on his body, the train goes, right? So he basically sacrificed his own life to let the train of the Muslims go smoothly to Pakistan. Right? That's what the story, as an overview, I have given you. I have missed many details that are there because that's not a task to be covered in this entire video. Ho bhi nahi payega. Then we have Delhi, a novel published in 1990. It's also historical and also maybe considered a semi-autobiographical novel because Khushwant Singh was one such person जो दिल्ली से बहुत प्यार करते थे. He used to love Delhi like anything, and that's what we see in his works as well, that a mention of Delhi is already there. A masterpiece of the description of the rich history of Delhi, and this work is something which is erotic in its stance as well, right? A kind of romantic story about the aging Sikh narrator and Bhagmati, his pockmarked Hijra lover with butterfly pins in her oily hair. ठीक है, तो हमें ये एक extraordinary love story full of eroticism देखने के लिए मिलती है, right? So the rumbustious narrator brings the life personages who have altered the landscape of Delhi. तो Delhi में, Delhi a novel में, we will see many real life characters, real life people. उनको as character इसमें दिखाया गया है. नादिर शाह, औरंगजेब, आलमगीर मीर, ताकी मीर, बहादुर शाह जफर, महात्मा गांधी, इंदिरा गांधी, have had an impact in shaping what Delhi it is now, right? What Delhi is now. A love story about the author and the city. He says as much as he says it all in his opening lines, and these are the beautiful lines that he says. I return to Delhi as I return to my mistress Bhagmati when I've had my fill of whoring in foreign lands. Delhi and Bhagmati have a lot in common. He says the ways I feel like कि मैं इधर उधर घूम के आ गया हूँ, at the end I know I'll have to come to Delhi, and he's comparing the same thing with Bhagmati, जो उनकी हिजड़ा लवर है, उनके लिए बोल रहे हैं कि जैसे मैं बाकी जगह पे with other women as well I go and I come back to you only because I know this is my safe haven, right? यहीं पे मुझे peace मिलेगा. Then we have other works of his as well, and I have also provided them in the chronological stance, so you can note them down by pausing the screen in here, right? Truth, Love and a Little Malice, an autobiography. So this was the autobiography of Sardar Khushwant Singh that has been asked as a question even in the set examination, so you need to be really very aware क्योंकि net के लिए अगर आप दे रहे हो चीजें, right, you are noting things down as well. So you need to make sure, and also make sure that there is the subtitles you are noting. So agnostic Khushwant, uska subtitle there is no God because Khushwant Singh himself did not really believe in God as well, right? Then we move forward to these are the first pages of his works as well. Now moving to cover pages. Moving to Rasidi ticket, here I would want to give you a brief anecdote about a very famous Punjabi writer. Her name was Amrita Pritam. So she is very predominantly known in the Punjabi literature. So she has written a poem आज आँखां वारिस शाह नो किते कब्रां विचों बोल, right? And अगर किसी ने पढ़ी होगी, anybody from Punjab अगर उन्होंने पढ़ी होगी पंजाबी literature में, that also talks about the partition times only, right? So at one point of time, Khushwant Singh had met her, and mockingly and in a satirical manner he told that तुम्हारी तो जिंदगी ही इतनी कम important रही है, इतनी inconsequential रही है, that if कुछ भी तुम्हारी जिंदगी को एक छोटी सी जो रेवेन्यू स्टैंप आती है जो हम उसके ऊपर लगाते हैं, अपने चिट्ठियों के ऊपर लगा के भेजते हैं एनवेलप्स पे, one can write your life story on that particular stamp. Now Amrita Pritam took that in a very funny manner, and she did take it as a challenge as well, right? Because writers do that. So when she composed her autobiography, which was lengthy of course, she जानबूझ के named it Rasidi ticket, and Rasidi ticket, if we translate it into English, means revenue stamp only. So just to pay heed or homage or satirical and mocking response to Khushwant Singh, she named her autobiography as Rasidi ticket, which is the revenue stamp, right? Now he was one such person जिन्होंने खुद की obituary भी लिखी थी, right? Self-written obituary survived in his collection of short stories by the name Posthumous under the headline Sardar Khushwant Singh dead. Obituary usually किस में आती है? अखबारों में आती है जब कोई इंसान किसी की डेथ हो जाती है and वो हम लोग छपवाते हैं ना that yes of course this person is now dead or they passed away. So he wrote his own obituary. Let's read it. We regret to announce the sudden death of Sardar Khushwant Singh at 6 p.m. last evening. He leaves behind a young widow, 2 infant children, and a large number of friends and admirers. Amongst those who called at the late Sardar's residence were the PA to the Chief Justice, several ministers and judges of the High Court. Now, why the PA, the High Court ke judges and ministers? Because of the fact that he has served in Rajya Sabha as well as a member, right? So, that's why. Now, questions. Time for questions. Name the person who wrote his own epitaph before his death as below. Here rests a person who neither spared the man nor the god. So, of course, you need to pause your videos here to try to answer. But it's pretty much simple, right? The answer is option D only. It's Khushwant Singh. Now, let's read the entire thing. Entire quote goes like, I would like to be remembered as someone who made people smile. A few years ago, I wrote my own epitaph. Epitaph क्या होता है? जब कोई इंसान मर जाता है, तो usually in the Christian की जो tombstones होती हैं, वो ऐसी होती है ना? तो उनके ऊपर उनकी birth years, death का year, where they were born, etc. And then there's a quote which is written. That is known as epitaph. So he has written his own epitaph. Let's just read that. Here lies one who spared neither man nor God. Waste not your tears on him, writing nasty things he regarded as great fun. Thank the Lord he is dead, this son of a gun. So he said that इनके works में हमें देखने के लिए मिलता है because he was an agnostic, did not believe in God. And he also tried to portray the cruelties, the dark side of the human beings as well. So he did not even leave God as well as he did not leave the human beings as well, right? And he says that do not waste your tears on him. He wrote nasty things, जिसको उनको लगता था कि ये fun है. So he just wrote this epitaph, right? Moving to The Company of Women is a book written by Khushwant Singh only. This is a book which majorly talks about how the women and men are portrayed in the pieces of art, work, literature majorly, right? So that's about it, right? So this was the last question that we all were supposed to cover in today's video. I hope you liked the class. If you have any doubts, you can drop it down in the comment section below. I'll try to reply for sure. Till then, you keep on studying. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.